Hi, welcome to this week's episode of Unique Lives. This week we're talking to James Whelton. At 13, James started designing and messing with websites, and at 17 he was the first person in the world to hack the Ipod Nano. Then, after the Leaving Cert, James became the co-founder of CoderDojo, which is a computer programming sort of a course that teaches kids how to do computer programming. So, hi James, welcome.
Hey, how are you getting on?
Hey. So, James, first question. How does a 13-year-old get into designing websites?
By being very bored and being like terrible academically and being really bad at sports. I don't know, it was like, I was just always kind of interested in how stuff worked, and I was like terrible academically, terrible in sports, and couldn't play guitar for the life of me, but I was just interested in computers and wanted to put stuff up online, and just kind of saved up my pocket money, bought books on HTML and other programming languages, and just kind of did that.
Wow, are your parents like techie sort of people, or was this literally just you?
No, they're dentists, so I think they're like literally at the point of throwing like holy water at me and stuff when I was taking apart TVs.
No way. And so you taught yourself, because I mean when you're 13, you're 20 now, so like 7 years ago, I don't even know if we had a computer in the house like back then. But so I mean you were obviously, I mean you were lucky enough to have computers and internets and things.
Yeah, no, like I mean, it was incredibly lucky that I had the internet, and I was like, back then, like we didn't have broadband, so it was still like using dial-up and whatnot, but like still incredibly lucky that there was a computer there, and I think my parents were okay with me kind of spending hours on it each day just doing stuff.
Wow, where are you from exactly, James?
Cork, Bishopstown.
Cork, cool. Okay, so you've not gone too far. Then, okay, tell me, at 17, how did you hack the iPod? Because this is what like got you like international notoriety. How did that happen?
Yeah, that was kind of mad. So I'd entered this like thing called the Aircom Junior Spiders, which is like a competition for just like people in primary and secondary schools who like build websites and stuff. And I submitted this site called like lctimer.com, which just had like a countdown of when the next Leaving Cert was going to be, points calculator, and some other like resources and stuff. Nice. And designed it nice and whatnot. And then I also wrote this like small Twitter bot that would find people tweeting about the Leaving Cert, typically like freaking out, and then it would auto-tweet back the amount of days, hours, minutes, and seconds left to when the actual Leaving Cert was on to like really freak them out. So I entered this as a project anyway, and it won my category, and I won this like small pink touchscreen iPod Nano as well with it. So just on the way home, like didn't have a particular...
Where was that on? Was that in Ireland?
Yeah, that was in Dublin. That was actually on the Helix now. That would be in, I think, December 2010. Okay. So anyway, with this iPod Nano, just was messing around with it, tried to get it to do stuff it couldn't normally, and just basically like found out that it had like these files in it that would like say, you know, whether like videos were enabled on it, whether like you could record with it, and like all these other like hidden settings and stuff. So tried to like alter them, the system wouldn't let me do it. So I figured out by sending it over, when you save it to the iPod, by getting it to hard reset, it wouldn't load up. It couldn't compare it to like the previous version that it had. So it couldn't like, when it would start up again, it couldn't check if it was like a legitimate version or not, and it would be forced to boot up with the modified file and like be forced to run it. Kind of like opened it up to like doing some stuff it shouldn't normally, and I think like a lot of like people and Apple fanboys got like really excited about the prospect that there could be like so much more done with it. So yeah, no, it was a good Christmas break. Like,
well, that's so funny because apparently there was people like all over the world trying to do this, and like you imagine like people in little dark bedrooms, you know, all getting together, all these techie guys going, okay, come on, we're going to hack this, and then this 17-year-old in Cork does it. Sort of an anticlimax. So it's funny. But so then what happened after that? That's what got you your international acclaim. How did people start noticing you and things after that? Because I mean, CoderDojo and things came around not so long after that.
I think like one of the big things was like I was fairly active on Twitter at the time, and when the whole like iPod thing like broke out, there was I think like I got somewhere between 1,000 and 2,000 followers like that night, and so like when I was doing stuff then, it was easier to like push it out to a wider audience. But I think like that like whole iPod thing actually kind of led up to how CoderDojo was started. Because after I did that, like I got invited to speak at the Dublin Web Summit, which was unfortunately on the same day as my maths like mock Leaving Cert exam. So I like did the only honourable thing and like skipped the maths exam and like went to Dublin to speak at this conference, and I met my co-founder Bill Liao there, and basically from there we kind of got chatting and started like musing, and with him we kind of came up with CoderDojo and went from there.
Okay, so like Bill Liao, how did he find you? Because he's a pretty big deal in the tech world and things. How did he find you? Literally just through Twitter?
Yeah, not even through Twitter. Like, it was because I was doing like a bunch of different stuff. Like with Twitter, I was writing software that could find if, like, you know, when people were saying bad stuff about your brand and analyze it and like find out like how important they were, and like, you know, like basically like test if like this person's argument had any like weight and stuff, and just like all, you know, different kinds of stuff that you do when you're supposed to be studying for the Leaving Cert. But I mentioned like this kind of stuff in my talk, and I was like, Bill lives in Cork, and at the time I was like really convinced that I was going to stay in Cork. It was a total like, you know, mammy type thing. Like I was convinced I was going to stay in Cork. I was going to go to UCC. I was going to do all this, and then I met a guy, Owen Jennings, who was like, well, you know, if you're really that convinced in staying to Cork, I know a guy who lives down there called Bill, and he's up in Dublin at the moment, and I can introduce you to him. So Bill lives in Cork anyway, and we met up at the train station, and there one day when he was going to get a train to Dublin, and we were just talking about all sorts of different stuff, and we had worked on a few projects and stuff, and we kind of I don't know, we settled on CoderDojo because like I had a lot of experience like growing up like learning to program but not having like that outlet in schools and stuff, and he kind of knew quite a lot about like mobilizing stuff, making stuff scalable, and when we worked together anyway, we kind of like the combination of our skills and experiences kind of created CoderDojo.
Yeah, because you say that you set up sort of a thing in school. You started teaching like 15 other students or something how to program, and like, you did that in your own secondary school. Yeah,
that was so after the that December when like the results from the Aircom Spiders came out. Like any proud school like did, they called it out over like the school intercom saying, oh, James Walton, you know, won this award thing for web development, and like the thing is to remember, like in school, like I was really terrible academically. Like I was failing maths, I was failing Irish, failing Latin, and all these. And I just like school wasn't my thing. Yeah. So I think when people heard that I like had won some award for like programming, and like this was around the time that like the social network was popular. So if anyone was like, okay, maybe it's like not the worst thing to be a geek or a nerd. People were like, oh, you know, if that idiot Welton can like do this kind of stuff, then surely we can too as well. So people started coming up to me and being like, oh, you know, how are websites made, or how are things like Facebook made, or how are apps made? And I kind of like held an impromptu get together like that following Thursday after school of people who were interested in this kind of thing. It's kind of like, you know, we didn't tell the school about it. It was kind of like Fight Club but with keyboards.
Oh, really? That's like the tech version of cool. Okay. Yeah. Okay, so, you were saying, you said you were like really bad enough at school and academically. Like the computer courses in UCC and things, they're not, you know, they're not small points. Like, do you think, would you get points to do this sort of stuff? Because I sort of wonder if points reflect in the people who go into courses a lot of the time.
Yeah, so what I can tell you about, I can clarify like the reason why like computer science courses are low points. I did like get 380 points in the end, and I got like that was enough to get into computer science in UCC by like the skin of my teeth. But the thing about computer science in UCC is and computer science in most other universities, it like has somewhere between a 50 and 70% dropout / failure rate. So like at the end of it, like at the end of your 4 years, you'll like only like 30% at max of your original class will be still left. So like people are like dropping out of it and failing it at such a high rate. And it's the thing is like most people before they go into it have no idea what the hell exactly it is. Because like they, you know, if people want to work in computers, like, you know, people like naturally think like, oh, computer science, then that's the thing to do. And like, in fact, like computer science, like does like a lot of really like low level, like processing stuff. Like it looks like a lot of like theory stuff. It's not just like Microsoft Word and Excel. It gets like really deep and theoretical. So despite the fact that that's low points, it's simply because like there's such a high dropout rate at it.
You ended up not going on to college, actually, because I know your work and everything took over. But if you weren't James Whelton, and if CoderDojo and the iPod and everything hadn't come along, do you think that the computer course would have been right for you?
Yeah, I think it would have, and I mean probably like a lot of other people, I would have struggled as well, because I mean just given where my talents lie, like I'm not an academic person. I can't sit still for more than like 10 minutes at a time. It's like I would have most definitely attempted it. Probably would have probably wouldn't have like been anything special at it, because I just kind of found that, like, you know, in like programming in an industry thing and making products, or like, you know, writing cool stuff is what I enjoy the most, and I actually put time into it then, as opposed to having to learn stuff off and do exams.
Okay. We've got a message in from someone called James who wants to know. This is straight to the point. How much are you worth, and what do you spend your money on?
Yeah. So that's a difficult question, and asking a person who primarily is involved in charities is an interesting one as well. So to be honest, I don't quite know. I mean, the thing is that, like, while I do, I get, like, I have an income from foundation stuff I do to work on the charity stuff full time. Then I also do some like iPhone stuff as well, and do some programming, and like do some speaking stuff, which has a bit of income as well.
So you're doing pretty okay for a 20-year-old.
Yeah, I mean,
you should be broke right now.
And it's terrible as well. It's such a lovely feeling to be able to go out clubbing in Dublin with friends and being actually like able to afford pints and stuff. But I will tell you, like, at the start, it wasn't so rosy. I lived on couches and floors for like 3 months in Dublin when I was starting off. Like, there was times I couldn't afford like bus tickets and so on, like, all because I was doing like all this charity stuff, which, who knows, didn't like pay that much. Yeah. So it was there was a time where like I was really broke, and like it sucked. And I left home the week after I finished the leaving cert, and like started supporting myself and so on. So I didn't really have like a safety net of home to fall back on. So it was like it was crazy. But yeah, no, at the moment now, I'm doing, you know, at the moment now I'm getting by nicely, and everything is good.
It's worth mentioning, only a few months ago you actually made the Forbes top 30 under 30 list. It's pretty impressive. And you know, I mean, I sort of feel hard done by, because I honestly think I should probably be on it. How do you get on the Forbes top 30 under 30 list?
So, and in my case, I still don't know, because I'm still the same idiot and langer as ever, but I think what had happened was that they'd profiled our work before. We were doing some stuff at the Dumb Web Summit. They were there, and one of their journalists wrote like a big piece on CoderDojo and the stuff that we were doing both here and abroad. And they do actually these open nominations for people who want to get to. They do open nominations, so people can submit your name, and somebody wrote down my name, and my name had been already mentioned in the Forbes magazine, and to like add to my clout, there's like I'd like won some other awards and stuff this year, so they just thought that I was like, you know, maybe a legitimate, you know, nice enough guy, and we're like, okay, let's you know, make him a 30 on 30.
So you smiled at all the right people. Okay, James, I've got another question from RKBA. He says, ask him about his use of the Raspberry Pi. He'll know what it is.
Yeah, so I'm actually doing something really cool with it at the moment. So to clarify, the Raspberry Pi is like a really like small computer. It's like about the size of a credit card, but it's a full computer in itself. So you can plug a keyboard, mouse into it. You can plug it into your like TV through HDMI. And you can it's like really cheap as well. It's like $35 to get. So you have like this full computer that's absolutely tiny, and you can do all this stuff with it. So I got one there recently, and the current thing that I'm doing at the moment is I've hooked it up to a microcontroller that controls a small engine or a small motor that is like attached to the lever of my front door. This small Raspberry Pi is currently running a piece of software that checks Twitter for if I tweet at this Twitter account, and if I tweet at this Twitter account, it'll open my front door. So basically, it means now that if I like lock myself out of my house, I can just tweet my door and it will open. That's incredible. That's going to happen in our lifetimes. I know. I always love making fun small stuff. Like I made a proximity-based kettle before that when you walk to the kitchen, it will boil for you. Okay. Yeah. That's really good. And you keep the cost of all these things down so low. It's actually incredible. You seem to really get people aren't going to spend big money on any sort of IT software stuff. So everything you do is sort of affordable. And that's actually someone called David has just messaged in to say, how do you make money from CoderDojo? Because I mean, it's free, isn't it? And I mean, the thing is, we don't. It's all free to attend. There's no it won't be commercialized ever. It's there's no bank account affiliated with it either. And the thing is, it was done for a legitimately good cause. They wanted this type of thing when I was growing up. we can see like there's all these different reasons. There's like tons of jobs in technology, but there's like still almost 15% unemployment here. Like all this other horrific stuff that's happening in the country at the moment, which something like CoderDojo can do like so much good. I don't know. I think like people actually like sometimes like kind of either think that I'm too. I don't know. It's kind of crazy. It's.
How do you make ends meet though out of it?
So I became a Ashoka fellow. So I initially had a company supporting me to work in it full time.
Okay.
So that was I had and when I then set up a foundation called the Hello World Foundation. And sorry, it's been a long day, so I'm kind of stumbling over myself here.
Okay.
But I set up a foundation. We got a few donors and stuff, and we've been so I take a salary out of that now, and I also do some stuff as well, like only as a recent, and it's really cool. Like I've actually got like paid to do one or two like talking things, and then I like do some iPhone stuff as well, and like so like there's a whole bunch of different stuff that I do, which kind of
and like CoderDojo being free and everything, it's supported by other companies, or is it advertising and things on it?
Not even advertising. Like we tried to design it to be something that wouldn't require any money. I mean, like the things that help it out. Like there's a company engineer that sponsors like the hosting of it, and there's like we're going to the EU Parliament now. Like next week, we've got a CoderDojo session in Brussels. So we had a company called Liberty Global, which has sponsored like us to fly some of the kids to it and stuff for these European countries and do some other stuff. So like when it needs to be, like there's different partners and supporters, but we basically designed it to more or less run without the need for money, which is again another kind of crazy thing.
It's impressive. So what would you say, because we have to wrap it up now quickly, what would you say to someone who's at home, who's got some really great software, is after coming up with some really great ideas, just get it out there?
Yeah, I mean, most definitely. Everybody's like really afraid of like showing their stuff to people. They're like, oh, you know, will someone steal my idea, or you know, will we have like that whole like, you know, Facebook situation against your man Mark Zuckerberg and Eduardo, whatever his name was. Like the thing is, at the end of the day, is to go out, show your ideas to people. Even if you haven't made anything, just like talk to people about your idea, get feedback, get people using it. Take criticism, and based on what people say, just iterate. And always know that there's never going to be a final product. It's always going to be something that's a work in progress. And just where you just to start a feature you build first, where you go from that will determine it. So always be improving your current product.
Okay, thanks, James. We have to leave it there, unfortunately, because we're strained for time. But wow, that's really, really interesting, and it's some great advice you've given people. So thanks for joining us on Feck TV, and everyone tune in again next Friday for more unique life stories. Good evening.